Holy sh**. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another shocking episode of the Center Beacon. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to talk about Dragoons. I like that word. It's kind of a funny word, Dragoons. I think it was like a mounted cavalrymen in the British military, perhaps other world militaries, but it normally signified somebody who is pretty bad ASS, if you know what I'm saying. And it's really fitting for these weapons because they are certainly bad ASS. I have to spell that word, otherwise Google will shut me down. They don't think it's a donkey, apparently, so I have to be careful. Regardless, what I'm going to do in this video is show you what I feel is the next shock train. Now, shock trains, you love them, you hate them, everyone loves to hate them, and Dragoons are, in my opinion, kind of the new shock train. I kind of feel like you're going to learn to hate these with a fiery passion as you've learned to hate the shock trains, because these, in my opinion, in a lot of ways, are even deadlier than the shock trains are. But first, I'm going to go over here and cap this beacon, because as you can see, this genius with the Zenith Fury has stood over here for the first like minute or so of the game already and failed to capture the beacon until I walked all the way over there to get it. So I'm going to return to my demonstration, but you can see just how deadly these Dragoons are, and they are even more deadly in the hands of someone with a legitimate internet connection. As you can see, I have the red X of death, which basically means you have no internet. It's a miracle I'm even able to play this game sometimes, but when I travel, as you all know, I am on an absolutely craptacular connection. So if you actually have anything under 100 milliseconds, you are going to really melt some faces with these weapons. I'm going to admit this for the first time ever on air, live. It's not live, but we can pretend that currently I am on something like an 800 millisecond connection. Now I'm going to give you all a minute to recover from that. I assume many of you have fallen out of your custom gaming chairs, but yes, it's true. My connection right now is horrifically crappy, but you know, I persevere, I press on, and I'm going to give you a couple of numbers on this thing, what's going on. These are Mark II, fully maxed out, level 12, Mark II, and at that level, each one of these bad boys pumps out 10,200 damage per shot per gun. As you can see, it holds 4 charges, and it takes 12 seconds to fully recharge the magazine. Has a 600-meter range, and in my opinion, I prefer this honestly to maxed Zeus's, fully maxed Zeus's. I prefer this because if I can dig into somebody, if it's a dash bot and he's out of charges, say like a Haiichi or a Kumiho, or if it's a Griffin, Griffins are so squishy and delicious. If he's already used his jump and he has nowhere to hide, you can basically eliminate these bots almost entirely in one salvo. And anything that's any lighter weight than the hit points on those kind of bots, he's not going to survive it. The other great thing about this too, unless it has like a physical shield like a Lancelot or something like that, if you try to go toe-to-toe with this thing and it's fully maxed, this thing can actually brawl, believe it or not. I've had a lot of guys in Haiichis with Orkans run up on me, and unless he's totally full strength, or unless I've already had some damage dealt, I can eat up most of a Haiichi before he even realizes what's going on. And I've had a lot of encounters where they run up on me expecting to just mow me down, and by the time they close the gap to 300 meters, say, to fire at me with Orkans, which is mostly, it seems like, what people with Haiichis run, they're actually getting burned down so badly that they end up retreating and just kind of limping away. And my Fury, the Dragoons are totally maxed, but this Fury is just normal level 12. I just haven't even had the time to get around to adding the additional 20% worth of hit points on this Fury, but I really need to, because it'll make this configuration, this build, even more survivable and more practical, because I'll have that many more hit points. If somebody does close the gap with me, I'll be able to hang in there longer, because as you can see, if I get a hold of somebody like you're seeing in these clips, they're not going to make it. I mean, the shock trains, don't get me wrong, it's not necessarily going to replace shock trains, but this is another absolutely lethal entry into that mid-range category, that 500 to 600 meter mid-range category. I love these. And speaking of shock trains, if you do encounter shock trains, this is a short short map. I'm on Shinzen here. This is a short map, not necessarily ideal, but if you can keep that 100-meter standoff, that advantage you have over a shock train user, you will eat him alive while he's trying to close the gap with you. Now, the one robot I don't like to see with this thing is the Bulgasari, because he's got that physical shield, and even with these things maxed out, I have yet to snap off a physical shield on a Bulgasari that's Mark II. Those things are so tough. They've got like 29 million hit points, I don't know, whatever it is, but they are damn tough to break off. So that is a good counter to this. If you have a shock train Bulgasari, that's a great counter, because I'll spend a lot of time trying to chew up that shield, and I'm not going to get it done before you close with me and you hit me with 3 max Mark II shock trains. You're going to take a big chunk out of my health, hence why I need to level this guy up all the way fully to Mark II. Now, in some of these clips, you're seeing me destroy entire bots before that guy even got going. I almost felt sorry for that guy, but not really, because my connection is so bad that I feel like it kind of evens things out. But I almost felt sorry for that guy in the previous clip, because you saw he never even got on the board, and I tore him apart. So, are these weapons overpowered? I don't know. We're playing in an era that has shielded dash bots. You have dash bots with 5 charges. You have weapons that not only hit the primary target, but the secondary and tertiary targets. You also have robots that not only jump and stealth, but also carry 4 medium weapons. So we can all sit around lamenting what was, but I'm just trying to deal with what is. And in that context, I like this weapon just the way it is. In today's day and age, what we're dealing with, you know, a lot of people are going to say, oh my god, it's overpowered, it's ruining the game. I'm just going to kind of say, like, I kind of need something to keep pace with all the shock trains. I like something in that 600 to 800 meter range to give me a little standoff, because love it or hate it, agree with it or disagree with it, I'm still playing the game, you're still playing the game, everybody's still playing, and every game I'm in, I've got 2 to 3 guys with max shock trains, 3 of them, 4 of them on a Spectre, and I'm eating them upside the head like all game long. So I find that the Dragoon is a really nice counter, particularly if they're running squishy bots. And squishy bots, they've not really figured out that they can't go toe-to-toe with a guy using max Mark II Dragoons in this configuration with 3 of them. I wouldn't really run this on a Butch necessarily, because the switch over time and everything, I think really to maximize the effectiveness of this build, you're going to want to run a Fury, you're going to want to max it to Mark II, and you're going to want to max all 3 Dragoons to Mark II level 12, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. Now, I know that's going to take some time, but it's worth the investment currently, and I haven't seen anything where they're planning on nerfing this thing. And with the impending nerfs to shock trains, albeit kind of a roundabout nerf, it's not necessarily like a direct nerf to the shock train, but with the impending nerf, it is a nerf to an extent, I think you're going to see even greater utility out of this. Now you can see here I'm kind of battling out with a Zeus. You got to be careful with Zeus users, because if they're maxed, they can still hit you really hard, and those guys can fire every 4 seconds. Now when you go through this entire magazine or energy charge, I think they call them plasmoids, whatever the hell that is, once you're empty, you really need to kind of take some cover and recharge your plasmoids. That's just, I'm not going to say that anymore because that just sounds ridiculous. And then you kind of got to just sneak and deke a little bit here, especially with the Zeus Furies. Now obviously I'm at a massive disadvantage with this guy, because again, this is played on an 800 millisecond latency, so that's almost a full second behind in time. This guy's like a time traveler, and I'm like some primitive caveman, although that is fitting for me, for the way that I act most of the time. But you can see here, even with 2 of these things left on my bot, and it's going to drop down to 1 here in a couple minutes in this video, they're still really effective. So if you want to put this on a Lance with just 1 max Mark II and complement it with one of your other favorite 600 meter weapons, maybe like Scourges or something, or whatever it is you want to do, they've got those ion things coming out. It's really a nice weapon. So in my opinion, this is kind of the new shock train that no one's really aware of yet, because not enough guys are running these things fully maxed Mark II. That's going to do it for me on this video. I just wanted to give you guys a look at this, give you my take on it, my perspective, so that way you can think about including this in your hangar, or at the very least, you can start thinking about preparing for it as you see more and more of these spill out onto the battlefield. If you like what I'm doing here on this channel, please think about subscribing, liking, and commenting are always welcome, and tell your friends, share these videos, and it'll make it a whole lot easier to do what I do for you. As always, I will see you next time at the Center Beacon.